Yeah, I think this is a field that is really evolving. I mean, from a societal perspective, it's disorders like Alzheimer, Parkinson, vascular dementia, disorders that are common and are also of high cost for our society. That means that in the future, with an aging population, it will be still more efforts to stimulate research, but also to stimulate clinical work with these patients. It's increasing demand, and if we don't do anything in the research, it will be I would say a collapse of our healthcare systems due to the increasing age of the population only. So I think we need to focus not only on the diagnostic process with these new biomarkers, but we also need to focus on developing new pharmacological treatment strategies for these patients. So from start, I wasn't sure, because this is more a top-down idea that it's decided more or less from a management board what projects should be run. There is certainly a scientific board involved too. And I was afraid really that the research councils or the funding organizations in each country would reduce their interest. I can only judge this from my own country, Sweden. Actually, the Research Council, due to these international meetings, they have been extremely positive to JPND, and they now put in this money extra, but they still keep the other support. So at least in Sweden, it has been an economic extra addition of funding due to JPND, and I am sure this is the case in most of the countries. Regarding the advantages to take part in a European Union project compared to being a national project, you get much more real cultural influences. You get much more knowledge about other methods being used. And I think for the young researchers, this has been in our meetings where we could call it a General Assembly meeting. You have taken part in some of these with 60, 70 people. I mean, so many subgroups are being formed, and those subgroups are composed of people from several countries in Europe, having scientific knowledge that you would never reach at least in the smaller countries, perhaps in the larger, but I'm not sure. So I think due to that, this has been a success, and I must say to JPND that I would be a bit sad that if they only focus on very focused projects with 3 to 5 countries involved, then they continue in the same way, and they don't have this I would say influence from different specialists in the research area, and you would not form this I would say circles that would spread around to all countries. So I say to JPND, you should also have some projects that are JPND projects, but involving many of the countries, of the total 28 countries. That's a project where we want to harmonize, standardize assessment of cerebrospinal fluid constituents, mainly focusing on Alzheimer and Parkinson's disease. The results after these 3 years is really that we have reached the goals we put up with the application, and we have with joint effort now created a society for, I would say, neurochemistry of the CSF in Europe that will survive this, and it will continue, the collaborations will continue. And I'm especially happy that countries like, smaller countries like developing countries almost from former Eastern countries, they have contributed a lot by sending samples both to a virtual biobank, CSF biobank, but also to a centralized biobank in Luxembourg. and the people are now creating research groups together where they continue the project. So I don't think, even if the time period 3 years is over, that the project is still surviving, I'm sure. I like large projects. I'm leading the Swedish Brain Power program, and I'm also leading the European Alzheimer's Disease Consortium, which is even larger than this. But I have good support from Gunilla Johansson, as you know, is my coordinating administrator in this project. But I mean, to learn to know all these people is fantastic, and also to stimulate them to collaborate gives me a lot of happiness, I must say. And this is, I would say, a strength I have, because I can see that people should collaborate, people should work together, and they should also think in new avenues, think in new ways. And I think the future will now bring a lot of new leading reports from these European efforts. For young people who want to come into research, the brain is of course fascinating, and the development goes very quick. I mean, we can see the technological advancements now with this magnetic resonance imaging, the functional imaging with the positron emission tomography, and we can see also the explosion with this all molecular biology, cell biology, and genetic findings. So even if we not in a short time solve the question, we will see great progress due to the new technology coming into this field. So I really want to combine knowledge about the diseases and technology, and I would say biochemical research. So it also gives young people future possibilities, not only for a clinical career or an academic career, but also work with industry in the future is of great importance, not only for them, but also for Europe. I think it's different views from different categories of people. I mean, if you only look from the doctor perspective, I can see that the GPs are rather nihilistic. I mean, they haven't seen a great success yet from the new drugs that are really the first generation of pharmacological treatment. So they might be a bit negative to this. But what you can see is from a society perspective, around the GPs, we are forming now teams of carers for the community care. And with more research, these teams are increasing their knowledge, and that gives back a very positive feeling. From the specialist clinics, like the university clinics, of course, it's a fascinating research area. And I think it's also noticed that even Nobel Prizes are given out to this field. We had the Prion Prize to Stanley Prusner. We can now see that the prion-like spread of things are perhaps explaining part of these disorders. We had the prize in 2000 regarding the signaling systems in the brain. And we have had prizes on magnetic resonance and positron emission tomography. And now in physics and chemistry, other prizes on the new microscopes to really study the interaction of the neurons, chemical substances in the brain, these STED microscopes, for example. It's an area that is more and more recognized, I must say.